Hey everyone, it's me, QP83. Generally speaking, I don't do videos like this where I'm like showing a PowerPoint and talking over it, but for this presentation, it just kind of felt like the easiest way to do it. So I apologize if it sounds like or seems like high school or college. I hope it's an interesting discussion for you today. So this is all about Hujoo dolls, a complete-ish history of one of my favorite doll lines. I love Hujoo dolls. They are a BJD brand that I was very obsessed with. And it occurred to me a while back that I was curious. I was like, what did they all produce over the 10 years that they were around? So I started doing some research and I thought, why not share it all with you as well? So first things first, if you're brand new to the channel, check out all the content on my page and my mom's under Barbie0913. We talk about dolls, we do show hauls, lots of fun stuff. So we've been doing YouTube for over a decade now, and somehow we're still doing it, and I'm so happy about that fact. So check it out, join our little club here, comment, like, subscribe, do all the things. Now let's talk about Hujoo. So, for those who don't know, the characteristics of the Hujoo brand are generally that most were crafted in ABS plastic. There were some in resin and also some that were in resin and ABS. They range from 10 centimeters or smaller to like over 75 centimeters tall. So they were very itsy bitsy Hujoos all the way up to like uncle sized Hujoos. They were affordable and unique looking, which you will see throughout this whole presentation. The affordability aspect of them was huge because I think that's one of the reasons that they took off and are remembered so fondly. The BJD hobby can be an expensive one, and Hujoos were affordable. They were sold as blanks. Some were fully customized with face ups, and some were full sets. And they were mostly strung, like as you would normally assume, but some also had a unique gear system, which you'll see here in this video. So, how did Hujoo start? Like, what's its history? Hujoo was started in 2005 by Song Hung Yoon, a professor at the Korean University Young in Sangdam College. Yoon is credited as starting the doll and character creation division to aid students in studying and learning the art of doll making, and which is something he had an interest in himself. And I apologize if I totally butchered the pronunciation of his name or the college. I obviously don't speak Korean, so I tried my best. I've watched a lot of K dramas, so I'm hoping it was at least a little bit okay. Um, in the early 2000s, Yoon founded the Pinocchio shop, which I couldn't find a lot of information on. I think it was just a very early iteration of what would eventually be Hujoo as it was rebranded. So, agent ball jointed dolls have a history or reputation for being expensive. Some are practically unobtainable. Like, unless you're lucky enough to have an extra mortgage payment or car payment lying around, some of them are just, they're impossible to purchase. So, Yoon's goal was very, very simple. He wanted to bring doll collecting to the masses and help uh, popularize it by creating affordable, customizable dolls, which you will see in this presentation, while experimenting with new technologies and allowing their designers creative freedom based on whatever their own inspiration was. Which again, you will see in this presentation because that is what is shown over the 10 years that Hujoo was around. You'll see a lot of innovation and unique things. The majority of Hujoos, as I said, were cast in ABS plastic, much cheaper than resin, which allowed for a whole lot of new collectors to come into the hobby. Yoon and his team of designers steadily released a variety of dolls from 2005 to 2018 when they suddenly closed their doors, leaving many collectors like myself a little bit sad. And I still miss them, truthfully. Throughout the decade or so, Hujoo produced dolls. They made several memorable sculpts and tested the boundaries of what the definition of Asian ball jointed dolls could be. So, just as a disclaimer, finding a good reference for a lot of these things was very hard. There's no like history of Hujoo on the internet. The Junkie Spot was a great resource. The Wayback Machine of the original the Junkie Spot website and also the Hujoo website was also a great resource. And also Facebook, I found some resources on. So a lot of this, well, I'm like confident in it. I may get something wrong because I was trying to get stuff from sources that were, collected years ago, and some of it which was not even in English. So let's get started and talk about the first set of dolls Hujoo created. We're going to go through the whole Hujoo production line here. So I hope you enjoy it. The beginning. So the beginning, which is, I'm going to write as 2008 on here. 2005 has also been credited. This is the first time, like the first couple of waves that we saw for Hujoo. And as I said, the whole like transition between like when it started in South Korea versus hit the junkie spot, there might have been a difference there. So 2008 is roughly around the time when we would have first started seeing these. The initial launch of Hujoo included their 24 centimeter and 26 centimeter 1/6 scale dolls, Hujoo, Jackie, Jake, and Wings. These three were joined by Barry in 2009, which you will see in a different slide. All five of these dolls were made of ABS. They were strung and allowed for customization. They had 14 points of articulation, were sold in apricot or apricot cream and cocoa. You'll see some with open eyes and some with very, very slimly open eyes. It was like just like little slivers of eye. Full sets were sold as well as blanks. Blanks were sold for $25, which is another reason I love them because you cannot pass that up. $25 for a BJD that you can customize or learn your customization skills on was unheard of and now is unheard of. So these are some pictures of the Hujoos originally released. We have the original Hujoo sculpt, which to me kind of has like kind of an alien aesthetic to it with how her eyes are placed. She's my favorite of the sculpts, honestly. She's so fantastic and looks great when you customize her. But she just looks a little bit off than what traditionally you would see on a BJD. The closed eyes doll is right next to her, and then you have a wings doll, which was kind of supposed to be the boy. It's a little bit taller. And I have wings doll. That's one of the few Hujoos that I do have, and I got as a full set for Christmas one year, which was great. There's a picture from the junkie spot. Again, some of these pictures were sourced from the junkie spot. And Emery was kind enough to kind of go through his catalogs to see what he might have had saved on his computer from back in the day. So huge shout out to him as well. This was the website when the dolls launched, as far as I can tell. So you'll see some of the dolls here listed, and you'll see a look at the original websites. There are a couple dolls on here that I don't know exactly if they changed names, if they were released in the States, if they ever made it. One is called Minihoo and one's called Mujoo, Mujoo. So I don't know. I couldn't find any information on them. Alrighty, so we have in 2009, Barry joins the mix, which you'll see on a different screen. We also have the 14 centimeter Hujoo Baby and the 14 centimeter Allie and Alvin, who were released in resin. So most of these are ABS, as I said. If it's resin, I tried to note it in this presentation. But in 2009, we got the Hujoo, Allie, and Alvin, and I think they're just so adorable. This is Hujoo, and this is Allie and Alvin, and I love them. They are so cute. They would have been a little more expensive, cast in resin, which is why I don't have any in my collection. But I love their like cute little chubby faces, their cheeks. Oh, so cute. I just think they're really pretty dolls. There's some pictures of Hujoo without a face up and then with a face up. And then there's also the release of Barry, who you'll see here. I put a picture of Barry in purple skin as well, just so you can see. She didn't come out in purple skin at the very beginning of all of this, but these dolls were released in a variety of different ABS colors. So this is just one of the colors. Kind of shows you the body though. Barry is one of the most conventionally pretty 1/6 scale sculpts they did, and I think she was really popular because of that reason. In 2010, Hujoo expanded their baby line with the 11 centimeter baby dolls Ted, Iz, and Suve, released in ABS and resin. So I believe the ABS ones are the ones where they're dressed, and the resin ones might be the other Actually, those look ABS to me too. So there's a resin copy out there, but to me, a lot of times they look so similar, especially when they have their face up and their clothes on. It's hard to tell, especially when you're on websites from like a decade ago. So uh, they continued selling the dolls mentioned earlier, the berries and the Hujoos, the wings dolls. So those were still being made. And then they also had these adorable Christmas versions, which were a limited run. I think they're so stinking cute. Like that brunette on the top. I don't know if that's Allie or Alvin. I think it might be. I'm going to guess it's Allie. I could be wrong. But she's so cute. I adore her. I don't have it, but I like it a lot. So this is 2011. So in 2011, we saw the introduction of the animals that I mentioned, the 10 centimeter Wawa, the Chihuahua, who was cast in both resin and ABS, the 10 centimeter Dorothy, the Parisian cat, and Penny the Fennec fox. Were all animal and pet sized creatures. And then we also saw a new 1/6 scale edition in the 24 centimeter Jake, who is pictured here on this slide. So let's see what these animals looked like. So we have Wawa, Dorothy, and Penny, and then the chocolate version of Wawa. So cute. They are just really unique, and they were the first kind of like step outside of just doing dolls for Hujoo, which we will see a lot more of this as we go on. Penny is my favorite. Penny the Fennec Fox is just adorable. So in 2011, we also saw the action dolls. Some of them cast in resin, some of them cast in ABS. So Cora was a resin action doll. She was 44 centimeters tall and had a unique gear system, um, which kind of drew her apart from some of the other MSD size dolls out there on the market. I love Cora. I loved her so much. Her eyes, her face shape, she kind of had that like alien sort of look to her that the original Hujoo doll had and that I love. I never got a Cora, so sadly, unfortunately, I never will, but I loved her promotional photos. And she, on some websites, it said she was limited to 32 releases. I'm not sure how confident I am about that because I feel like I saw her on the Junkie Spot website a lot. And there can't have been less than 32 people that decided to buy her. She is like so stinking cute. I love it. If I found one of those at a decent price, I would be tempted. Um, there was also Dana, Sarah, and Lucy who were made in ABS. So think about it. This is 44 centimeter MST size dolls made of ABS, meaning they're half the price of other MSD dolls on the market, and they give you just as much value. You can change the wig, you can change their eyes, you can do everything you can do with the resin MSD size doll with a doll for half the price that's just as pretty. So we're going to look at this gear system here. So look at the gear system. So it helped them pose, basically, was what was, the selling point of this system. And I also put some details for the sizing for you if you at all are interested in knowing the exact details of the Hujoo action dolls. So that's Cora. As I said, how can you not love Cora? And in hindsight, that outfit is very like Snow White Once Upon a Time in the Enchanted Forest, which I'm 100% for. There's Sarah, who's not my favorite, and Dana, who's also not my favorite, but Lucy was always kind of tempting for me. Super cute. She came as a full set. Many of these did come as full sets. So in 2012, we saw some more dolls hit the market, and some of which would end up being like staples in the Hujoo line. Two more action dolls were released in 2012 with Teen Yumi and the action doll Chikoloka, which was like a fashion brand in South Korea and still might be. I had never heard of it. They were both 43 centimeters tall and actually look very unique between if you like compare them to the action dolls that were released the year earlier and if you compare them to each other. They're both very different. A trio of 25 centimeter resin girls were added with the release of Lily, Kesha, and Mari. And then another one scale doll was released named Yomi as well. And one of Hujoo's most successful sculpts was born in 2012 when they entered the anthro market. The anthropomorphic dolls anthropomorphic dolls are made to resemble animals with more like humanoid sort of features to them. I'm sure you've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. Hujoo Freya, which is a 23 centimeter tall cat girl, was a favorite among collectors, and she was released this year. Um, and she was like heavily, her and Freyr, the male version, and some of the other animals were heavily produced until like the very end of Hujoo. So they were favorites, especially among people that ordered from the junkie spot, because many of them, I believe, were exclusives, and then they were released in various colors, as you'll see here with this like electric marmalade sort of color. That was a later release. But when they first came out, Freya was released in white and dark gray. So this is pictures of Yumi and Chicoloka. As I said, very different from each other. 43 centimeters tall. I have I have Yumi. I love her. Yumi is one of my favorites. She's just so unique looking, and she actually kind of resembles Korra, which so I'm not surprised that I like them both. This is Mari, Kesha, and Lily. They had animal ears, as you'll see in the pictures here. And I also put their sizing there just in case you're curious. This is Yomi, and then there were some new colors that were out this year. The light blue and like the lavender color also made an appearance for with the original Hujoo dolls. So in 2013, we saw the 25 centimeter Lily and Rose. They were released as a collaboration with Fallen Doll, which would happen a couple times apparently, as I was doing research. And they have more proportionate heads to their bodies than like the original Hujoos. Hujoo, the company, also started using a thicker ABS on the bodies. Just to kind of upgrade them a bit. And in addition, the Chinese Hujoo distributor Miniwoo received an exclusive doll to her online store called Albu, who is a miniature pinscher slash Doberman sort of creature. Also, we saw the 23 centimeter Freyr, like the male version of Freya, who was in the previous line, who came out in white, gray, and white. And also, if that was not enough, there were some 43 centimeter MSD sized Hujoo boys released as well. So it's a busy year for Hujoo. These are the boys. They were 43 centimeters tall, 45 centimeters tall, I'm sorry. But unlike the girls, Hujoo made them with special like ears. So you can't see them in these pictures, but there were special ears like cat ears, rabbit ears, sheep ears, and buffalo ears for the boys. This year, there was also a 12 centimeter version of Freya released, Nano Freya, which would be very popular throughout the entirety of Hujoo's life. And it came in both light gray and white in the initial launch, but it was created in so many colors after. I don't like these boys so much, honestly, but they're there. Maybe you like them. So you'll see Albu, the Doberman, here, and then Lily and Rose, and then Nano Freya as well. I love my nanos. They're adorable. So in 2014, we saw a variety of different releases. Word had gotten out that this was like the brand to get if you wanted an affordable BJD. Unfortunately, on the tail end of that, people were also kind of like saying negative things about it because it was an affordable brand of BJD, but that is the collector market right there in a nutshell. And that's all I'm saying on that topic. Hopefully, if I'm smart. But in 2014, people had discovered this brand. People were flocking to the Junkie Spot website, trying to get their Freyas and their Freyers and their Hujoos. People knew about it and they loved it. A reworked Freya was released with a head cap instead of a faceplate. Based on customer feedback, the Anthro line of Hujoos also grew to include an adorable 27 centimeter mouse named Phoebe. I have a Phoebe. Love her to bits. A 12 centimeter rabbit, Nano Rabbit, joined Nano Freya. And then thinking outside the box, Hujoo debuted their first two-faced Janus line with Rata and Gato. Now, both of these dolls, which you'll see in a moment, are 28 centimeters tall, with Gato having a human face and a cat face, and Rata having a human face and a mouse face. So here's the mini rabbits there, and then Phoebe, who's so cute. And then also this year, in collaboration with Fallen Doll, they released a Fennec Fox anthro doll and another rabbit doll. The rabbit's so cute. I honestly don't remember seeing these guys ever. Like, I don't know what I was doing when they were available, but I don't remember them. And I think they're really cute. And this is that Janus doll, Rata and Gato, that I was talking about. So you'll see their names on the bottom of the screen there. And if you just like turn their head, they have a different sort of face. Very cool. It was an interesting, unique concept from a brand that wanted to do interesting and unique things. Okay, and let's talk about these two here because they are also 2014 releases. So in 2014, Hujoo decided to release their first SD sized doll in Io and Amy. So they're both very different. So Io is your traditional SD sized doll. She is, let me get her size here, 58 centimeters tall. She's humongous. And she looks like your standard female person. Super cute. Not my cup of tea exactly, but it is kind of nice that she was made of ABS. So she was an affordable SD doll that you could get at 58 centimeters for the price of ABS. And then there was Amy, who's a very interesting one. The aesthetic is weird. I'm sure there are some people that love it. I'm still in like I don't know what I think about it, but it definitely shows that Hujoo is willing to take risks because it's a 58 centimeter anthropomorphic dog BJD, um, which you can see pictured here. Super cute in an interesting sort of way. Um, but again, she was made of, as far as I can tell, ABS, and I'm sure she has a following. I'm sure some people picked her up because she's very unique within the hobby. In 2015, you could kind of see some of the cracks starting to form if you paid attention, especially in going through all of these products they released, because it's a weird year for Hujoo. So they released a 17-inch tall doll called Neve, who had very limited articulation. And then they released uh, two 27-inch dolls, Iris and Ivy, who actually I think they were really cute. And I believe my mom has one that I bought her for one of the holidays. They also released a 58 centimeter Azalea the cheetah, also an interesting anthropomorphic character. And when I was going through the owner of Hujoo's Facebook page, I saw that in 2015 he announced the opening of his second domain called reptiledoll.com. So I grabbed some pictures because I used the Wayback Machine so I could find it, and super interesting things, but I don't think they ever existed, or maybe they were existed, but like they never were sold. But we'll get to that. So this is Ivy and Iris. They were sold with dog ears that were, magnetized. So you could put on whatever wig and then use the magnet to attach the dog ears. They're actually really cute. I like them a lot. They're made of ABS, just like the other dolls. So I just think they're really cute additions, honestly. This is Azalea, the cheetah. So much like Amy and Io, uh, Azalea is 60 centimeters. So she's SD size, a little bit taller than the others. I think she's really cool. I have no recollection of her coming out, what her price was, but I think she is pretty cool looking, especially with that face up. Getting her blank would have been a little more complicated, but if you got that full set, wow, like that would be a doll. And then next to her, ironically enough, is Neve, who has like very little articulation. She's also very tiny. Interesting look, but not my favorite thing to come out of the company. It just seemed like they were trying to work with posability and customization, and this might have been a step too far out of that. So this is a picture of, or pictures of what would have been on reptiledolls.com. I don't know if it was ever on Hujoo's website as well, but I found nothing other than this Facebook post and like a little clip of the website when I used the Wayback Machine. So these are little reptiles, and you can see some of them in their promo photos are wearing like hoodies, which are adorable. I have literally no idea what happened with this line, but I kind of wish we'd seen it. If you know any information, drop a comment in the comment area because I'm curious. And they're adorable. Hujoo's flagship dolls were joined by a couple new SD size dolls in 2016. One was a limited edition EO dressed as Cleopatra. Tableau, made in resin, brought a brand new body and head to Hujoo collectors. It was the Muscle Boy body. And a brand new sculpt made her debut, dubbed Ava. Ava's interesting because she has a resin head with molded hair, and she has an ABS body. She's also like huge. She is 58 centimeters tall, so she's an SD size doll, but she has molded hair, which you'll see in a picture here. And then there was the 15 centimeter Little Rose. And Little Rose, the 15 centimeter version of their 2013 release of the same name, made her debut. And then there was a Kesha that re-debuted with a resin head and an ABS body. So a couple things happened in 2016. So this is EO as Cleopatra. Pretty. She's a pretty doll. I'll give her that. And that costume is gorgeous. And then Tableau, who I had to censor a ton for YouTube. So if you Google this or check out the blog, which I will, when the blog post is live, which may not be now, I'm going to link it in the description, and I'm like sure to put his picture in there. But I had to censor it a ton. This is Ava with that molded hair that you'll see here. Interesting doll. You could still cover it up with a wig, but resin head, ABS body, and very, very tall, 58 centimeters. This is Little Rose. She was at 15 centimeter doll. Again, I'm not sure what they were going for here. I don't know if it was cheaper to produce tiny things. I'm not sure. And this is Ava with a resin head and a ABS body. Okay, so you can see we're getting fewer and fewer things on this list now. So in 2017, we saw two new resin cats, Jeppy and Tippy. They were 10 centimeters tall. Nano Rabby and Freya, Suave Ted, and Iz also got new double jointed bodies. But that's the extent of what I could find for 2017 releases. So you'll see the two cats, Tippy and Jeppy, right there. Cute cats. I'm not gonna lie, they are pretty, but they were literally only things that I could see besides double jointed bodies for the year. Around 2018, Hujoo's history gets a little bit fuzzy. The website moved to from Hujoo.kr to a new domain known as the far more generic BJD shop. I don't understand that move at all. I'm sure there's a reason behind it, but that's what happened. As far as I can tell, the only doll to be announced and released in 2018 was Ion. Aion? I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce the name. He's 27 centimeters, made of ABS, and came with a body dubbed the Angel body, which I think just meant like a kid body, because he looks like a child. Distributors like the Junkie Spot received small shipments in around 2018, but noted that what they were receiving had been ordered long ago, like literally a year or earlier. So the shipments were already behind for Hujoo. People that had sent money to the company for product were getting it a year or two after the initial order. So clearly something is wrong. Also, we don't see a lot of new products coming, and the old products were going out of stock and staying out of stock. But here you'll see something here is an iguana. So I don't know. This is something I found on Facebook on the head of Hujoo's Facebook page was this cute little iguana. And it was never produced, as far as I can tell. I'm sure it would have been on the reptile page had anything happened to that one. But I just thought this was a really cool prototype, and I wanted to include it here because I would have given pause to it. Like, I would have been like curious. The Hujoo site sat with very little changes with until sometime in 2020 when the domain had officially expired and the site was gone for good. Their second domain, bjdshop.com, sat with no updates until March 2022, before that domain also expired. And you could see here on the screen 2019, no releases, little updates to the website. 2020, Hujoo.kr shuts down, second domain is up, but there's no updates. And then, shockingly, in 2021, there were new prototypes, or there were at least pictures posted on Facebook on the one page I've referenced, that showed a prototype of a small cat that said, "Hi, I prepared a new prototype for iron mold." So I don't know if this was actually like a post of Jeppy and Tippy, or if it was something different. But there was a post in 2021 that talked about a new prototype that was being prepared for a mold. I don't think I know nothing came of it. So this is just the official, like, sad ending here. 2022 second domain shut down. Hujoo is no longer. A couple odds and ends that didn't end up in the presentation where they did sell outfits for their dolls, which you will see here. They were sold on the official website, and also I believe maybe Junkie Spot got a few. You'll also see some different colors of the nanos, and also this cat thing that was posted on Facebook. I don't think I took any notes on it because there was truly no information that I could find. But I saw that and I was like, well, it's curious, right? So maybe there was something that was planned that just didn't happen. So I'm going to end it soon. Hujoo's closing was and is frustrating on so many levels. They made affordable products. Hujoo dolls, due to their price, were perfect for honing your face up skills, or for just, if you were trying to get someone into the hobby, a younger person into the hobby, they were great dolls for that sort of thing. Their price made them a wonderful introduction to new collectors who were towing the waters into doll collecting or BJD collecting, as well as younger kids, and getting them into the hobby, because the hobby will not survive unless we get younger folks in it. That's just the reality of it. Doll collectors are aging, as we have seen with how many dolls end up in Savers and Goodwills and such. And so we need younger people in the hobby, and this brand was the perfect brand to get people in the hobby and to hopefully keep people in the hobby so they could then celebrate it with their friends and their family. Besides that, Hujoo dolls had character to them. They were unique looking. Their designers delivered on their intention to create unique dolls, as seen with so many of their out-of-the-box creations. While much of their demise sits on the company's shoulders, there's a part of me that thinks this brand was slightly ahead of its time. Hujoo dolls were being released at the height of BJD collecting, and the brand received undeserved negative feedback from people who maybe were in the hobby that felt Hujoo's ABS material wasn't high-end enough, nor was their aesthetic what purists deemed on topic. And if Hujoo were making dolls today and were debuting in 2020, 2021, 2022, I'd like to think that they'd be embraced more by the doll collecting community for everything that made Hujoo unique, and still loved by those of us who discovered them a decade ago. So, with that, I will say goodbye to you guys. I hope you enjoyed this look at some of the Hujoo releases between 2005 and 2021, when 2022, when the website finally disappeared on us. I hope you too will share your love for Hujoo in the comment area. Share this video, like this video, do all the things. I'm really happy with it. And I love that there's now at least some sort of video out there that talks about the history of Hujoo, because it is a strong BJD brand and I don't want people to forget it. So let me know what you think in the comments and I will talk to you later. Bye.